ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, so.
Hello everybody and welcome to What the Hut here down at Eastmead Studios on glorious Worthing seafront, and it's a beautiful day. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'd like to just quickly thank Andy and Nick for sorting us all out today.
Right.
Thank you very much. Now, as you know, I'm Tax Wady and I am a creative award-winning property investor. I'm socially minded and we help everyday people to grow their hard-earned money and invest in things that really matter. And we help them do that by offering much better rates than they get in the bank. Yeah, we believe you can help people and earn good returns. Now, I love my town, as you know, and so does our very gorgeous guest today, the amazing Beth Doll. Welcome you.
Hello.
Beth, would you tell us a little bit about you, please?
Yeah, let's start. Okay, I was born in Kingston, so originally from Kingston in Surrey. I had connections in Brighton through my childhood, so when I was in my early 20s, did a bit of travelling. Spent 2 or 3 years kind of coming back here, popping off to various countries and having a wonderful time. And then I think I got to about 23 and thought I need to be doing something. And one of the passions that I discovered while I was travelling was getting involved in communities and helping people. So I thought about how to put that in the context of work, because as we know, if you find a job that you love, you never work a day in your life. That's the expression, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And so for me, it seemed like a very natural beat to look at kind of working with people, and so I decided to go into social work. It wasn't an easy process because I was considered young. I was in my early 20s. In order to do the course that I wanted to do, go to university, I needed to get experience. So I volunteered at a women's centre. And I had a lot of rejections prior to that. It was either you need the qualification in order to come and work for us, or you need to have voluntary experience to get the qualification. So it was a catch-22 for me. But I found a lovely community at the Women's Centre, and they dealt primarily with domestic violence, sexual violence. It's pretty hard-hitting stuff. And I volunteered there for quite a few months. The lovely lady that ran it, Cathy Kelly, must have seen some promise in me. She started sending me off on various training courses, so counselling courses, co-counselling courses, group workshop courses. So I was able to contribute much more to my role there, which I loved. So I did about two years there before I went and I applied to do the social work course at Sussex University. And they kindly took me on. I think I was about 25 when I started. I know I was the youngest person ever to do the course.
Wow.
A lot of people were a lot older than me. So I finished that. Obviously I moved to Brighton to do that course, stayed in Brighton. And I like Brighton. I've got ties with Brighton. As always, I kind of grew up around Brighton because my dad lived there, so I spent a lot of weekends and holidays. But I discovered Worthing when I started working for a company in Worthing. And so I would be driving from Brighton to Worthing every day, and I think what I love the most is community. So in Brighton we have pockets of communities, quite transient. And so people kind of tended to stick to their own tribes. In Worthing, you meet someone in a corner shop, you see them the next day. Hi, how are you? And then, and I really noticed that, obviously coming from Surrey, London, Brighton, to be somewhere where people kind of recognise you. There was a warmth that I haven't found anywhere else.
Yeah, I think once you've done that sort of London, Brighton, you come from kind of a wilder place, and then you go to Brighton, which is beautifully bohemian.
Yeah.
But then when you kind of wash up in Worthing, there's something a bit magical.
I think so. I've met a lot of people who've moved here. There was an artist who still has contact. She was based here, Jess, amazing sculptor, and she's travelled everywhere, and the countries that she's been to. She's lived in South America. She's now moved to Scotland, but she said that Worthing was the most magical place she'd ever been, which sounds ironic because it's Worthing. But I think it's all about community, and I hear that a lot from people. So that was one of the things that stuck for me. Obviously, at that time, property was a lot cheaper, so we're talking 20 and a bit years ago. Property was an awful lot cheaper than Brighton, even though you're only 30 minutes down the road. So I set up home here, and then my son was born a couple of years later. And so again, I developed this wonderful network of parents, friends that I still have today. We all have our children together, and he's grown up here, he's spent his life here, and I mean, for me, other than the community, it's the sea, and always when I was travelling, obviously again coming from kind of the outskirts of London. We don't take the sea for granted. When you're travelling and you're right by the sea every day, of course it's slightly different, but it's that horizon, to be able to look out and have that perspective. It clears the mind, in a way that, even Brighton, it's by the sea, because it's hilly, you don't get that view, that flatness, and being able to kind of look. It's just magical. So I don't take that for granted. I feel that my husband, my son, have lived all their lives in Worthing, and I think maybe they do take it for granted a little bit. But I think when you move here, it adds magic, definitely.
Yeah. I think the way you very kindly let me and Nick come into this beautiful community here, which you're responsible for in so many ways. Beth, this East Beach Studios in Worthing. It's this row of, how many studios have you got here?
So it's 14, but one is a double at the end. So
yes,
it's 13. Yeah.
And it's a really amazing eclectic mix as well of different types of artists.
It is. It's. I have to say that I can't take responsibility. I kind of took over a legacy.
Right.
I can't sit here without talking about the amazing Steph Sykes, who used to own Coast Cafe. It was his brainchild, really. Coast was always known as the Artist Cafe, and he had the opportunity to take over 5 beach huts that were right next door to the cafe initially. So he was very involved in the community. He was Green Party candidate, he was involved with the council, very community minded, and he wanted to create an opportunity to kind of allow artists to come down and paint by the sea, to be by the sea. And so he achieved that with 5, and then about 10 years ago he negotiated with the council to take over the remaining row, with some opposition, I have to say. Well, yeah, I think historically there have been people who've had these beach huts, kept them like residential beach huts, passed them down through the family, and perhaps didn't like the idea that that was being kind of taken away and replaced with something different. But as my husband would attest, East Worthing really up until 10 years ago was very quiet, and there really wasn't much here. You had Peter Pan's over on the grass, and you had the Lido, so the kids would come and be there. But this stretch of the seafront wasn't really utilised at all. So the cafe was really standalone, and it was only a small shack really. Stuff invested and built it into what it is today, which is it's a big place.
Yeah.
So you kind of wander down past the pier and you find yourself at this little brick cafe and have a cup of coffee, but really not much else. So from then to today, having achieved this, which I took over from Steph. He sold the cafe. He now lives in Yorkshire, and we're very sad that he's gone.
Yeah.
But he's always been very supportive of me. So
Wonderful.
I came as an artist. I took over one of the studios with 3 other artists we shared, and I was here for 5 years.
Yeah.
Just painting, working with ceramics, did the story stones, sculpture, a bit of jewellery. And when he decided to sell, the new owner was very opposed to taking on the art studio. It wasn't the thing I wanted to do. And I sort of panicked really, because I thought, well, if it's not run by the person who runs the cafe, potentially it could disappear. And it felt like we were kind of building something quite special.
Yeah.
Because it's really unusual.
Definitely.
So I put myself forward with my dear friend and business partner, Angie Pengilly. Probably a bit scared to do it on my own.
Yeah.
So, she, her background's hairdressing, she works for Beth Doll, she was involved in events and things. And also, she was a fabulous artist. And we've both been quite unwell for a period of time. Shall we do it? And so we took the lead. So that was 5 years ago. And Andy was very involved for those 5 years. We've had a wonderful partnership here. And it's only since I've taken over for this next chapter, which is soon to sign another 6-year lease, that she stepped back. She wants to travel. Her son's in Australia, which is. So I've decided to carry on, and I'm happy to do so. It's a wonderful place. It's very magical.
Yeah. Well, we're glad you're going to do that.
Thank you.
It's for anyone who hasn't been to Worthing. Why haven't you been to Worthing? Because it's just gorgeous. Yeah, Worthing's great. And there is magic about this place. And here we've got graffiti artists, we've got tattooists.
We've got sculptures, we've got collage artists, textile artists. We've got Tom, who makes these wonderful timber harps.
Yeah. Beautiful products being made.
It's being made here and also sold, because they've done them in shops. So people get the opportunity, the public get the opportunity to kind of wander along and see people working, creating, and they get the opportunity to buy things as well that are straight from the artist, the middleman, which is quite unusual in itself. And just to kind of get involved in the community, really. I mean, yourself being here, that once the doors are open, people will constantly stop and chat, and you hear the most amazing stories. But also from the artists, that it's a very eclectic bunch. Somebody referred to me the other day as a curator. Which is, I mean, it's about finding the right fit I think. And I mean, one thing we don't do is duplicate. So we've got a pet portrait artist. You know, he's our resident pet portrait artist. We have a silversmith. We won't double up. So every single studio is unique and has a unique selling point. And the work is very different.
Yeah.
So.
And I also love the collaboration.
Yes.
Like, there's, when we come and we open up and we're slightly different to the real, so we're so grateful to hopefully contribute in our way. But I've noticed, like, everyone helps each other out. And
there's a real sense of community.
Definitely, and I think that can only, like, for me, enrich me in what I do. And I think that goes for everybody else here. Do you know what I mean?
Very much so. I mean, you say, and I think we've talked about this before, but you say you're kind of different. Yes, you're not an artist per se. This studio that we're in now is, you know, it is our pop-up. Part of the reason we created that was because when artists, and there is a waiting list for the studios, when artists join us, they tend to stay. You know, I was here for 5 years before I took over with Angie. And you don't want to leave because it's lovely. I mean, the winters are cold. Don't get me wrong. The landscape is always changing. But even then, even when it's cold and rainy, there's still, you know, there's a wonder about it because you're right by the sea. So, you know, that's quite inspirational.
Absolutely, we're blessed.
It's wonderful. Yeah, and so because the artists stay, my idea, something that Angie and I talked about, was allowing community artists to come in to what would be considered a pop-up, where they could rent a studio for a month or longer term. Not necessarily just as artists, but people who are involved in the community. You know, I've talked to people who work for charities who want to be based here because, you know, they can have an office here, and the same as you and Nick, you know, you've come in, but, you know, there is a very creative side to what you do, but it's also your community spirit. That's, you know, and for us, as a transaction, or as you say, collaboration, you know, a lot of us collaborate artistically, but also in terms of what we do and what we have to offer. And you know, some of the collaborations I've done in the past with Northbrook College, with Conrad House, you know, the community. You know, it's what you do. You collaborate to enrich people's lives in terms of opportunity.
Absolutely.
Stepping stone. You know, times are hard now. You know, people are struggling. And I think, you know, what you do is really important.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. So, and also, you know, you and Nick are wonderful people. So, it's just wonderful to have you here, and the ideas that come out of, you know, how we can generate the area, improve on things, make it better, more interesting place.
Beth, somebody asked me, somebody spoke to me and they said, what keeps you awake at night? And I was thinking about that, and for me, as I've grown, and I used to worry about bills in the middle of the night, how we pay for this refurb or this, and then it went on to how do we improve the property. But now what keeps me awake at night is how I protect children that are living in our properties, or how do I make things more affordable for people in certain properties. It's become really localised, and that's why I really concentrate on
property social worker. Aren't you?
That's so true. But can I ask you, because I have a feeling that we think fairly similarly. What keeps you awake at night?
Well, it's difficult to answer that question without sounding a little bit trite, because obviously the work that I used to do with vulnerable children, with drug users, that stuff really kept me awake.
Yeah.
I think for me it's always about making sure that I've done a good job, and asking the question, could I have done better? Could I have done something differently? What could I improve on? And although obviously what I do here, I've done for the last 10 years, is completely different, I think you still have to ask those questions of yourself to kind of grow and learn.
Yeah.
So for me, I know that part of this job is supporting people.
Yeah.
Artists don't always have an easy time. I think that, although this is a lovely place to work, because there are very few artists that make a good living out of art. So quite often, people are, coming from a place of not having very much money, but it's like any community. Within that community, people have health issues. People have day-to-day issues, marital issues, and I think one of the joys of being here, apart from watching people create, is that community spirit. Is people supporting each other. So, and I'm always up for that.
Yeah.
I do that. I can't help myself.
Right in thinking that you are on the committee for the Worthing Artist Open House?
Yes, yeah. So I suppose, again, there's volunteers there. Lovely Lorraine Heasman, who runs Studio 37, which is a studio that I used to be in, it's now Susan's. She was part of the committee. Everybody volunteers, and then it kind of broke down during COVID. Most of the ex-members left. I think actually all bar Lorraine, who was the one of the original members, and a lady moved from Brighton, Jo, was very involved with the art trail over there and wanted to do something new. And it seemed like a natural step when Lorraine invited me to come on board to get involved in that. We didn't want it to stop. And that is about supporting artists who are new. A lot of them this year, I think nearly half of the artists that have joined the trail are new. They haven't done it before. I think we've got 50 this year, which is great. So it's encouraging people to become part of the wider art community by opening up their homes and displaying their work, and they invite the public round. So our small committee of 4, which is, it's not a great number. We've got Marley who does the maps and the artwork. We've got Nessa who's coordinating everything, and I'm helping with the social media and promotion. So between us all, we generate a map that's printed. All the houses are listed on the map.
It's gorgeous. They're gorgeous.
And then we're trying to coordinate 50 houses, support people to open up, and as an artist to kind of paint, to create is one thing. To show your work then to the public, that's another. And that's where the nerves kick in, because people feel like they're exposing part of themselves. Will they like it? Won't they like it? So, part of what I do down here is kind of encouraging and supporting. I've done a lot of mentoring for new artists who want to show their work, but they don't, there's a whole other business side to actually selling. How do you price a piece of work that you've just poured hours, heart and soul into? How do you present it? Right down to framing, all those things. That the skills that I've acquired here, I'm then able to kind of jump into Worthing Artist Open Houses, because I see the appeal, and it makes the town more interesting to have, these art events that, are really quite special.
Absolutely.
Some of the houses I've been to, some of the artwork is just breathtaking. You know, you just, wow. And these people wouldn't necessarily be shown the work in any other circumstances. So it's an opportunity for, you know, the Worthing community, the art communities come together, but also for the public. Who wants to buy artwork and people's wares. It's great. So it's over 2 weekends in September.
So this September, do you know which weekends?
I should do. I don't offhand.
Don't you worry, because would it be okay if you came back on, because we'd love you to do another podcast with us? Would it be okay?
Of course, yeah.
And,
well, maybe the team can come with me and we can talk about have a group session.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
Now I know we've got a special day at East Beach really soon. Is it on
May 4th?
May the 4th.
May the 4th be with
you. And with you too, Beth Doll. Beth, what's happening and how can people support?
Right, so part of what we do here is obviously we link up with other community establishments. So, for example, Northbrook, we had an end of music degree show on the roof last year. Northbrook were amazing. Shout out to the lovely Norm, who's inappropriate hand clap. So he did an amazing job at Northbrook. Yeah. Working with students again on the music. And that he is somebody who's very community minded, and he's worked down here. I know him personally, and we talked about having a joint event. So one of the things that I want to do, that all of us want to do going forward, is to raise the profile of East Beach.
Yeah, definitely.
Even people who live in Worthing will come down and say, "Oh, I didn't know you were here." So signage is a thing that I'm going to talk to the council about. You know, all those things. But social media and events is another way to promote that. So on the back of the Northbrook Day with the musicians and the opening, we've had Christmas markets, and we're now trying to establish 1 or 2 events a year where the public can come down, visit the studios, and May the 4th will be the next one.
Brilliant.
So we will have balloons. We're going to do a treasure hunt on the beach for the kids to look for painted stones. We've got tombolas. I think we've got a vintage market. All the artists are opening their doors, so obviously they're selling stuff, but also demonstrating what they do. You know, you can see Tom Freer creating these timber harps. It's, you know, mind blowing. And
Coast of it.
Coast are getting involved. Yeah, they're going to do. So I think they've got a reggae afternoon evening from about 3. So we start at 11. And we'll be sort of more family orientated. I think the lovely Andy's going to attempt to DJ. And we're just going to try and make it a nice family day out. Apparently the weather looks amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be glorious.
Yeah. So that's getting our profile up. And that's something, really, that's my main job now. Yeah. Is kind of working with people in the community, working with Andy around social media, doing a website at the moment that details everything the artists do down here, and having events that, you know, encourage the public to come down. And I mean, the sun's shining and the beach is empty, and I know that changes once it gets warmer. But you know, to encourage people to bring their kids down and spend time down here.
It's gorgeous, and also like in the evenings in the summer, often you'll come down and the circus will be doing, you know, the poi. The poi, and the vibe is just and you've got the music coming from Coast, or Andy's got his music playing, and the vibe down here is just like it's gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean it really is lovely, and I think that's partly because of this, and mostly because the people are just wonderful here. You know, we're very lucky. We've got a great group of artists, and you know, who all get involved and all support each other and help with different things. So, you know, the emphasis is on art, but it's also on community. And that's, you know, really how my background kind of works.
And you can feel it. You can feel it. Do you know what I mean?
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a magical place. And when the lease ended, I mean, the 5 years went quickly.
I bet.
Two of those were COVID.
Wow.
Panic stations.
Yeah.
And again, part of my role was supporting the artists to access grants so that they could stay and survive. So that was a really positive achievement for us. And then on the back of that, to kind of reopen, get back to doing what we do. So, when the lease came up in October, it was a no-brainer for me. I'm not done. So another 6 years.
Really?
Last October. And I just wanted to continue to grow. And it's worth pointing out that I see this place as a stepping stone. A lot of artists who've based themselves here, who started here, have kind of outgrown the space because they've developed into something quite special. So, Jess, I mentioned earlier, is an amazing sculptor. You've got Nadia and Nessie, who run Creative Waves. They were responsible for the stained glass on the pier. They're very involved in community projects.
Yeah.
You've got Julie and Julie, who are both here, who now have opened Sabotage in Warwick Street, which is
great.
contemporary art gallery. You've got Rob, who ran Ethical T-shirts. He used to print T-shirts, and now he's over at Spun.
It's fun. That's Portland Road. It is a great.
So he started Poetic Bisons. He based himself here, built his clientele up, and he's now. So those people, and there's probably many more that I haven't mentioned, have kind of used this as a stepping stone to go on and do something else. Pursue their passions, and I think that's wonderful.
Yeah. Beth Doll, I love you.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Absolute pleasure. You made it very easy.
Thank you. And I look forward to you coming on and being our guest lots and lots.
Okay.
And May the 4th be with you, everybody.
Yes, May the 4th be with you. May the 4th
May
be
the 4th.
with you.
Yes, you've got to come down now and bring
picnics.
your Apple wallets, please.
Yes, Apple wallets. Bring picnics. Come and a blanket. Come and sit on the beach. Enjoy the music. Enjoy the sunshine. And come and be part of our amazing community for the day.
Yeah.
We'd love to have you. We'd love to see you.
Thank you. Thank you, Beth.
Pleasure.
Bye. 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 Bye.